Hey guys, welcome to Newswave. It's Monday, of course, beginning of the week. A lot of people don't like Mondays, but tons of stuff to look at today. Listen, if you missed anything we did over the weekend, including Persona 5 gameplay, we also played a free Dragon Ball Z fighter that was really cool, and we took a look at the Mass Effect Andromeda ND1 diecast model. Take a look at all those videos on the channel. And with that, let's get started. We talked about a story over the weekend. I just want to bring as much light to the story as possible just so people are aware of what's happening. Gamestop had a major breach with their credit card information over the weekend. Beginning the end of last week, around Friday, they had this big breach apparently that happened. Credit cards, names, CVV2 numbers, which are not supposed to be stored, have been leaked out, and now hackers have this information and they're shopping around on the black market, and that's not good. So keep an eye on your information. If you have shopped at GameStop since September of last year, this includes the whole holiday season, online. Keep in mind this won't affect anyone who shopped in stores with them and used their credit card. It would just affect people who have punched their information into GameStop's site when you were checking out with your credit card, your bank card. Keep an eye on that information because it seems like that may be out there in not good company. People like hackers and stuff who sell this information on the black market have that info. Be very careful. Keep an eye on your card. It's not a good time right now. People are reporting fraudulent charges now on their cards. So keep an eye on it. If you're not comfortable at all, you can always get a reissue from your credit card company and they will just cancel your old one and reissue you a new one. Big story over the weekend, of course, is this top secret game that is apparently taking place, and it was put out on Twitter by the person who is getting started with this project themselves. And this, of course, is Takashi Tokita. You may know him best for his roles as developer and basically leader, essentially, of titles like Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger. He was at the forefront of this, helping these games get out there, getting them developed, leading teams of people to make this happen. And he was also a big person behind the game Live a Live, which did not come out here. It stayed out in Japan. It was translated and brought over with ROMs and patches, and we did play them on our Super Nintendos through the means of repro games. But now everyone is in this big swirl trying to figure out what game is he bringing out, what game is he starting to develop for on the Switch. And of course, when he put that on Twitter, as you'd expect, people just started guessing like crazy down there. We heard things such as a Chrono Trigger collection with Final Fantasy games on there as well. Maybe Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger together on one cart. Heard even Chrono Break, which if you don't forget about that, that was something that they filed a long time ago back in 2001. Never did anything with that filing. It let it expire. People are now starting to come up with ideas of, oh, maybe Chrono Break is finally coming back, which they were thinking was going to be a sequel to the Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross series. Others have said possibly Super Mario RPG 2. At this point, is anyone's best guess. If I had to take a wild guess, I would say possibly Chrono Trigger is just being remade on the Switch to a very small extent, just making it so everything looks good on that 1080p screen for the LCD, and then of course 720 on the handheld. So I don't think anything crazy is going on. It would be awesome if they did something maybe a little unexpected, like maybe a Live remake or something, just something a little different. I know we like Chrono Trigger, but we've seen it a lot. We've all played it for the most part. And while it would do well on the Switch as something just on the marketplace to buy and download, or a physical cart, I would like to buy that. I would like to see something a little new, something creative, maybe even a fully new realized IP that he has come up with. Either way, we'll keep an eye on this and see if he comes up with any more details or hints even on his Twitter. Next bit of news is pretty interesting. Came from Blizzard and Overwatch's team, where they were talking about bringing, for example, Hearthstone over to the Switch, which I've said before, makes a ton of sense to bring Hearthstone over to the Switch. It's set up with that touchscreen. It has that mobile type interface where obviously you take it with you. And overall, that would be a great game to bring over to the Switch for us to play. Well, of course, the next best game to bring over after that, or even before that for a lot of people, is Overwatch. And the developers had a few things to say when they were asked about that. And this is from the Overwatch director himself, Jeff Kaplan. He says, I think the problem is we've really targeted our minimum specs in a way that we could have to revisit performance and how to get on that platform. Now what he's really saying is they would have to try to figure out ways for it to run on the Tegra processor, if it's possible for them to do that with their current engine. I don't think they're running Unreal, which would scale really well, as we saw with Snake Pass. If they were running Unreal, that would work great. I don't think that's what they're running, though. They're running something else. And if that's the case, it will be harder. I think a lot of developers who want to put stuff on the Switch and other ones should start looking into Unreal Engine 4 just because it scales so well, as we saw with Snake Pass. I mean, the Switch version looks very comparable to a PS4 version that has to be tethered to the wall, whereas the Switch can go with you. The other thing you have to think about, is Overwatch going to sell well on the Switch? As much as people may say, yes, I would buy it on the Switch, the sales figures will actually tell us the story. And I think Blizzard is still hesitant, even if the sales come out that they're good, would people actually sit down and buy it on the Switch? Because most people have already bought it on the PS4 and in some cases the Xbox One, obviously, and the PC. Is the Switch a platform that would sell that type of shooter, that competitive shooter? And would people really play that in handheld mode when they're sitting around? And would it be easy to play like that? Because that game does have a lot of depth of view and field where you have to kind of look down at people that might be smaller on that screen. It might be hard to aim. It's hard to say. And of course, the money that goes into that, they have to get back after developing. So it's going to come down to, do they think the money is there? And is it worth porting this thing over to a mobile chipset from their standard x86 big consoles that they run them on, or PCs, and that's what they have to figure out. Is the money there? And to a lot of gamers, the Wii U is an afterthought at this point. I mean, the Wii U is pretty much on its way out, or like I said to some people, it's just dead. But not to all companies. Apparently THQ Nordic is going to still support this system, with the Darksiders War Master Edition being released on it May 23rd. Now, it's going to release for a pretty good price at $19.99, which for Darksiders, that's a great game anyway, but it's odd to see them bring this over. I have a feeling at this point it was already in development for at least a little while, and they were just like, put it out the door, it's done. We'll at least get a little bit of money out of it. Now, of course, that might mean that could also go to the Switch down the road since they put it out for the Wii U. Maybe they'll just port it over to the Switch and start to get some of Nintendo's new audience for what I assume to be an eventual Darksiders 3 at some point. And really, it's interesting to see this because I'm sure a few other games will come out for the Wii U as well as we go forward, just because while it is technically a dead system at retail, there's still an audience for it. So I'm sure there are people who have had their games in development. They're just going to put it out, and we'll just see these random Wii U releases happening as we go along. But if you're looking for Darksiders on the Wii U, May 23rd, $19.99, pretty good game for that price. And we talked about last time on Newswave about the terrible idea of G2A going with Bulletstorm and Gearbox, and how that was a whole mess of a situation. Well, they must have seen it too at this point. After reading everything people were putting up, they issued an ultimatum. I assume G2A had no interest in that at all, because at this point Gearbox has said, you know what, we're just not going to deal with them anymore. They have now retracted their special collector's edition and game that they were going to have sold specifically through G2A, and they did release a statement. There's been no public movement from G2A at the time. Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition launched now on PC. Gearbox Publishing will be doing their part to not directly support a marketplace that did not make the new public commitment to protecting customers and developers requested by Gearbox Publishing. We do not control G2A's marketplace or where they may obtain keys from parties outside of Gearbox Publishing. We can confirm that today we have begun executing our extraction process. And you know what? Good on Gearbox, because their big ultimatum, which is insane to think about this, was to just protect the customer. That's all they wanted. And it's good that they are pulling out of there and not letting people get possibly screwed over by G2A. It's just, why would you want to attach your business to something that is very gray market, very sketchy at times, and the keys and everything almost come up to like piracy, because developers do not get anything for that. And at that point, who knows where they even got the keys from? So I'm glad Gearbox decided, you know what, we're not even going to deal with G2A. It's not worth our time, and it's certainly not worth having our customers get ripped off. I don't even know why they went there in the first place. I have a feeling they did no research at all, and it took viewers and fans to tell them, hey, you're making a mistake here, get out of there while you can, because a lot of big YouTubers told them right away, you are making a mistake. They listened. They are now retracted from there. I assume they will sell their special edition on their website or Amazon or who knows where, just not with G2A. Good move, Gearbox. And if you've been part of the online community with the internet for the past 20 years or so, you undoubtedly know that there are viruses online. And recently, I shouldn't say very recently, because this is in the past couple years, there's been something called ransomware that is going around. Now, what ransomware does is it locks your files, encrypts them completely to where it's basically unbreakable. You then have to pay a large sum of money to a person online to get it unlocked for you. It's a very, very bad, I really mean this, a bad virus that really is frustrating, because a lot of times stuff will be locked that are very important to you, whether it's your pictures or any kind of information that you need for work or something, and then they hit you with like a $500 to $600 bill that you have to pay, because realistically, guys, the encryption on those things are almost impossible. So for fun, a Korean programmer decided it would be really funny to do something called ransomware, that's called ransomware in his case, where he has it lock out files, and what you have to do is get 200 million points in a bullet hell shooter to unlock your stuff. And trust me, the game that they're playing, getting 200 million points is almost impossible. And the game is called Sorensen, and it is you'll see it here, it's a very big bullet hell shooter that is on like insane mode, so there's stuff everywhere, and you somehow have to get 200 million points to get your pictures of your baby back or your final report for your thesis or something to pass college. Instead of at least being able to pay money and just be done with it, you have to beat this game. Now, what happened was he put it up on GitHub. He thought it'd be fun to do just as a project. People downloaded it. It spread online, literally went viral, I guess if you want to say that, for a virus. And very quickly when he woke up, he realized that there was a problem, and he quickly wrote what is essentially a patch to fix it so that people could re-download it. But yes, that virus took over the internet for like 4 or 5 hours while this one guy was asleep. He even accidentally infected himself and realized he couldn't beat the game. He couldn't get 200 million points. So he did have to write this patch to fix it, or this fix that you then inject into it, and it then frees up your file. So it was a little scary there for a while, but luckily he fixed it, and we're back off and running. At least with ransomware, you could pay the money. In this case, you would have just been screwed. And with the release of the hardware for the Scorpio, like all the stuff that's in there, everyone is trying to speculate now on price. Price is big. That's the one thing they didn't tell us. Of course, they didn't show any gameplay, but they at least showed us a screenshot. And that was at least enough to see what's going on with GPU utilization and the frame rate and the resolution. Well, in this case, there's no pricing. I assume that's being saved either as a trump card at E3, or they're going to try to sweep it under the rug because it's going to be so much. So now everybody is trying to throw darts at a dartboard to figure out how much does this thing cost. And the big one was from an analyst over on IDC that thought it has to be at least $700, right? And this was their quote here. I estimate the basic hardware will cost around $650 or so. If Microsoft wants any kind of margin at all, Scorpio will have to retail for $700 or more. I have to say, $700 would be death for this console. In no way will this console, I think, be over $500. I think it'll come in at $499.99. Anything more than that, you might as well write this system off because it will not sell well. It'll sell to hardcore gamers or big prosumers, as they're called, people that have those 80, 90-inch 4K TVs who don't mind throwing a ton of money at something to get the best possible quality. Those people exist, but they don't exist in mass, and that's where you get your big sales, is from the mass market. I think Microsoft has to know this. It would have released for $700 last year. I'm almost positive that's why they have waited this long to release the system, because they need that price to come down to $499.99 or $500. Like I said, anything more than that would be ridiculous. Anything less than that would be amazing. I don't really see how they can get $400. I don't even see how they can get $450. $500 has to be that mark. I think they know it. I mean, keep in mind, the Xbox One with the Kinect sold at $500 at launch, and it sold well, and this was back in 2013, so it was a little while ago. I think $500's fine. I'll be curious to see what it actually is at E3, because that's definitely where we're getting the price. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think the price will be as well down in the comments. Our last bit of news comes from Binding of Isaac for the Switch. I was very vocal about how I liked the big physical copy they came out with the stickers and the booklet and the cart and everything. I really liked that. Well, apparently the first run is over, and they're doing a full second run with all new cover art. And it's kind of annoying because I like this cover art better. It's more colorful. You'll see there's a very big emphasis on his tears coming out of his eyes, and it looks really good. I want to see inside to see if they're changing the booklet up. I think they're only changing the artwork up. But if you have not had a chance to get this game physically, now is a great time because you can be part of the second wave with that second printing. That's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about anything we talked about today, whether it's this secret Switch game that's in development. I really want to know what your guys' thoughts on that. Let me know what you think it is down in the comments, because it could be very interesting when this gets announced. Maybe it's an E3 game coming up. That would be cool. Let me know what you think about Overwatch going to the Switch. Is it a possibility, or do you think it's just going to be Hearthstone showing up and Overwatch just isn't made for the Switch, unfortunately? Also, let me know what you think about the Scorpio price, because that is going to be the big thing at E3. That and gameplay are the two things Microsoft has left to show us for the system that could really jump and spark the excitement going forward towards the holiday launch. That's it for now, guys. I will see you next time.